What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. Chance and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome everyone to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. And in this episode, we're going to discuss a recent addition to the Ravens wide receiver room, a room that they said they were, the front office said they were going to rebuild. They were going to address, add talent to. And this looks to be the first step, at least from bringing in an outsider's perspective. So Jimbo, first and foremost, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Just trying to recover from this illness we got here going on. But look, we're here for you guys. We're sorry that we didn't break this earlier. Obviously, it's been out for a while, the signing of Nelson Agholor, but I've been on the mend. So appreciate your patience on this one. But thank you, sir. How you doing? Hanging in there?
Hanging in there. Excited to talk about something a little different than the same thing we've been talking about for weeks. But yeah, so like Jimmy mentioned, the Ravens add Nelson Agholor to the wide receiver room, free agent, most recently playing with the New England Patriots. But of course, before that was with the Oakland Raiders at the time. And then before that started his career as a Philadelphia Eagle. What
were your initial reactions, Glenn?
Yeah. So when I saw it, look, when Nelson Agholor was available after his time with the Oakland Raiders in 2020, I really wanted him to come here. And the reason I did is because that season, while only having 48 catches, he had 896 yards, almost 19 yards per catch, and had 8 touchdowns. So it seemed like he's developing into a pretty good deep threat. And let's be honest, the Ravens don't have a ton of deep threats. They got a lot of guys that kind of do similar things. They have a lot of smaller slot receivers. And so I think they needed to add a guy who's got some experience as a deep threat. Now, when you look at his last couple seasons in New England, hasn't been impressive. So, it's like part of me is like, well, I think he's a decent piece. But, man, his production hasn't been good. But then also got to take into account what is the state of New England's offense been the last 2 years. I mean, last year they had Matt Patricia, a defensive coordinator, running their offense with Matt Jones looking just as frustrated as I've ever seen a quarterback. So it's like, how do you how can you hold that really against him? But Jimbo, here's my concern. He's got inconsistent hands. So, yeah, he's got big play threat. So how much do the hands worry you, and how much of an addition is this really to the room?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's funny because that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Like I mean, if you look at, his years, you're talking, he's in catch percentage. He's in the 50 percentile in every year except 2017, 2018. He was at 65 and 66. His, a few of the years at Philly, 2 of those, 5 years he was there. But so that does get me concerned. Certainly, we've had plenty of wide receivers that can run a route, get open, and just can't simply make the catch. So let's give you a little bit more of that. But you can also take that Vegas year and decide to be the optimist and say, okay, if we can get somewhere between that and what he's been as of recently, then I think you take that on a 1-year deal. But ultimately, my opinion hasn't changed. This deal looks better if Bateman comes back and is who we think he is. This deal looks just like another Demarcus Robinson deal, if that's not the case, because Nelson Agholor is not a number 1. He's not a number 2, but he has big playability, like you said, and he has the ability to, you talked about the deep threat. So he has the ability to make the defense think twice and create some room for other players around him if he's being used properly. So ultimately, while we're talking about Nelson Agholor, I think 2 things. One, this is a good fit. Like, this is a good start, just like you mentioned, but without Bateman, this doesn't really do much for me. I think ultimately all is going to hinge on Bateman's foot and his health.
Yeah, no doubt. And when I look at the Ravens receiving room, I see 2 guys that you really like, right? It's Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay. Both these guys are coming off foot injuries. You just don't know how those things are going to react. Bateman, and I hate even saying this because I know it really rubs him the wrong way, but Rashad Bateman hasn't been healthy since he's been a Raven. So it's like, can you really count on his health? So when I look at it like, man, your first 3 guys are Bateman, Duvernay, and now Nelson Agholor, it's still not going to be a group that strikes fear in the hearts of opponents. But what I'm hoping is that
Okay.
this is a step, like you're mentioning, but not
Yep.
the final step.
Well, let me ask you that, Glenn. Let me
Yeah.
ask you that, because I know that you're hoping that so much, so is everyone. But what do you believe the chances are, whether in free agency, the trade, or the draft? Well, you know what? I'm not even going to, because I don't even think we have enough depth. I was going to ask you if that's the only move we make.
Well,
But
if
outside of a depth move, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
top end receiver. I'm not talking D Hop, but like a 1 to a 1 to 2 type receiver, right? Outside of Bateman, do the Ravens do anything else? Like, what do you see as the possibility of them doing something like that outside of what they've done with Agholor?
Yeah, and the problem with that question is there's nothing left in free agency. DJ
Yeah.
Chark goes to Panthers.
Yep, he's
Adam
gone.
Thielen also with the Panthers.
Thanks,
Juju's
Panthers.
off the market. There's not a lot of guys out there. So if they're going to make a splash, there's only two sources, and that's the draft or a trade. A trade makes it incredibly difficult when you only have 5 draft picks. So unless you're trading an asset, unless you say, well, what's Patrick Queen's value looking like? I got to imagine it's at its highest right now that it's ever been, because he's come off a great second half after Roquan came to town. So unless you can make a trade with a player trade and maybe throw in a future draft pick, I just don't know. I don't think they have the ammunition to make a move, and that's what's got me worried. But what I'm hoping is that somehow they find a creative way to make that happen and bring in a guy that can be a true complement to Rashad Bateman and allow Nelson Agholor to fall into a position where he's not relied upon to do things that are outside of his comfort zone. And we'll just put him in roles that we think that the coaches think he can succeed in. And look, we don't know what this offense is going to look like because we haven't seen Todd Monken as an offensive coordinator for the Ravens. So we really don't know what it's going to look like. But what at least gets me a little excited is the fact that he has shown the ability to be a big play threat. And I think that's what this offense is missing. I just hope if this is the only move they make, I would be extremely disappointed. If the Ravens come out and make it obvious that they say, okay, this is an issue. We're going to address this issue. In the past, they've done more than a third, receiver type move. They've always addressed the position. So I'm going to stay confident that they do so. But my concern is, Jimbo, if they do it in the draft, and I'm going to kick it back to you with this, if they address this issue or this lack of depth and talent at wide receiver through the draft, is that like, it's a big jump going from wide receiver at the college ranks to wide receiver at the pro ranks. At the college ranks, you're not asked to do a lot. In the pro ranks, you're asked to read the defense almost as much as the quarterback is asked to do it. So do you think a rookie could realistically come in day one and make that type of impact?
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. The one thing I'll say about JSN, I'm going to use his initials, is that Steve Smith said that he has a PhD in route running.
He's going to be gone, they're saying.
Right, he could be gone. I'm just saying that if there's a guy that can do it, then to me, I think that he's the closest thing to an immediate impact type player at the position in the draft. That said, Glenn, I'm going to remind you of 2 names, and I think that there's still possibilities. I think D Hop is still a possibility, and I know it's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy.
They want a second,
right? But
Ravens don't even have a second,
right? But Odell Beckham Jr. is still out there as well.
But rumors are the Jets are in. He's interested in going to the Jets, and
they're going to run out of money eventually, right?
Well, they only got one ball, like they say, right? I mean, now I think Corey Davis. The expectation is that Corey Davis could be on his way out, and then it leaves Alan Lazard. It leaves who's the offensive rookie of the year, offensive player of the year?
Oh, Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson,
Dude.
And then they signed Mecole Hardman. So
but if I'm New York, I don't need Odell. I mean, talk about the names you just mentioned. You don't.
I know,
you need other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But look, they want to woo Aaron Rodgers, man.
Yeah. Well, I think that DeAndre Hopkins is still a possibility. Look, all I'm saying is that Eric DeCosta, anyone can say whatever they want about Eric, but any trade he's done, he's gotten the better end of the deal. Say whatever you guys want, but like, look at him. Look at what we did. Look what we gave up and we got in Marcus Peters, right? Same thing with Calais Campbell. Same thing with the Roquan Smith, and I'm missing another one. Am I missing somebody? Those are the three big ones that come to mind. So I mean, look, Eric's done a good job in the trade market, and I think Joe Flacco is another one, right? Wasn't Eric the GM when we made that trade? No, I guess not, because that was
Ozzie.
Yeah, no, that was the year. No, that was Eric's first year.
Oh yeah, it was his first year on the hill. Yeah, because Ozzie's last draft, he drafted Lamar. Yeah,
yeah. So, because didn't we turn that into J.K. Dobbins? No.
That was Hayden Hurst.
That was yeah. That's another. See, there you go, Hayden Hurst.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that I think that DeAndre Hopkins is still a possibility. I'm holding out hope for that. So I'll be disappointed as well as you if this is it. If they try to come to the podium as a front office and a coaching staff and sell us on the idea of doubling down on our belief in Bateman and Duvernay and how we should ride with Prochet, and
they'll hang it on the neck of Greg Roman. They'll say it was Greg.
Right.
It was Greg. It wasn't these guys. These guys got it. It was right. Greg.
And the problem with me is, just like you said, it has nothing to do with the players and my belief in them. It has everything to do with the fact that Bateman hasn't been able to stay healthy. You need to address that. Yeah. You need to. And if you're going to tell me that Agholor is going to step in, no.
What do you
give me a break?
Let me put it this way. Do you like signing Nelson Agholor over bringing back Demarcus Robinson, who I know carried the ball like a loaf of bread, but he also had a couple, he had a couple sluggo routes that looked pretty good. He had the deep touch. So he did make some plays for us, but you like Nelson's signing better, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's more athletic. I think he's more dynamic with the football in his hands. He's faster.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a better football player.
Okay.
Now he's got some.
I think it's pretty close. I think those two are similar in their talent level. I put them both as a pretty good 3.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. They're in the same room.
Yeah.
But I think it's like this. When you line up to board a plane with Southwest, they have like A1 through 30 and A3 through 30 through 60. Agholor would be like in the A1 through 30 somewhere. Okay. And he would be in the A30 through 60. They're both in A, but like,
okay.
You know what I mean?
I got you. But I tell you what, I would rather see him out there if need be than see James Prochet.
Yeah,
and see Shamar Bridges or
I never want to see
Wallace to some degree.
Yeah, I never want to see James Prochet again.
No, and it's just, what do you get? I mean, so I still wouldn't mind them bringing back DeMarcus Robinson.
Yeah,
because I still think he's an upgrade over some of those back end of the roster guys.
I agree with you 100%, but it all comes down to, like I said, I think you agree with me, because it comes down to Bateman, man. Because if Bateman's the one, and then you got a guy like Agholor, and then you got Duvernay, and say you add a 3rd-round kid in the draft that's, I don't know, he's got some
height, weight, speed.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Something that maybe he's a bit specific in his skill set and narrow in his scope, but he can do something really well that dropped him down to the 3rd.
Yeah.
Hey, then you're starting to round out a room. But if Bateman's not there, man, the head's off the snake.
100%. Because then it forces guys to jump up into a bigger role that they can't fulfill.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, even with Agholor and
look at
Robinson,
Duvernay. What happened to Duvernay when Bateman
fell off
out?
The
Duvernay was
that one game.
Duvernay was skyrocketing in the first 5 games of the year, and then just disappeared.
Yeah, it was all Greg's fault.
That's right. Damn, Greg.
Well, let us know what you guys think. Are you excited about it? Are you bummed about it? It's like more of the same. It's only a 1-year deal, only $3 million and change. I think it has incentives up to $6 million. So give us your thoughts. Leave all your comments below, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
It does not matter. You're looking forward to today.
I'm looking forward to being a Raven.
What are they getting?
Everything out of me. They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that.